Namaste, soul family, star family, subconscious community, and welcome to YouTubers from all over the world. Today is going to be a continuation of our planetary reception polarity aspect series. And so we've already made it through the sun, the moon, and Mercury, so this will be part 4, which will be Venus. So I've talked a little bit about the planetary polarities, the planets that are natural opposites of each other when it comes to their nature and what they represent. So we're talking about Mercury and Jupiter being polar opposites, and then today we're going to be talking about Venus. Venus is polar opposites Mars. So Mars and Venus, and Mercury and Jupiter. And then the sun and the moon both balance Saturn out. So as far as the zodiac is concerned, that's how it goes. But that's another video, I think. Today we're going to be talking about Venus in particular, so that's going to be fun. So let's just talk about Venus a little bit before we get into our beautiful, wonderful chart over here that, yes, I did draw. So let's talk about this real quick. So let's talk about this Venus. So Venus is representative of our love, appreciation, values, relationships, money, and art, right? Art's a big one. So anything to do with music, anything to do with anything. Seriously, someone who has heavy Venus energies, such as myself, will understand that literally everything can be art. Everything is art. So the Venus is very, very powerful in our realm. I believe Venus is like the closest celestial object to us besides the moon, something like that, right? Closest planet and that type of thing. And it's about the same size as the Earth too, so you know, very similar, very they're basically sister chakras, honestly. Like I kind of see the Earth and Venus as like sisters, man, Gaia and Venus, but or Isis and Venus, but yeah, that's beside the point a little bit. I'm just going to talk about Venus from more of an astrological aspect and from more of an astrological perspective, just kind of talking about what it represents. So Venus also would be ruler of women, right? So Mars would be ruler of men. Venus is ruler of women and female genitalia. So things like pregnancies, well, actually the moon would be very involved when it comes to things like pregnancies and fertility, but Venus literally rules the genitals of females, so whereas Mars would rule the genitals of males. So speaking of Venus, she's representative of females in general, right? Men are from Mars, women are from Venus, right? Isn't that a book or something? So we're talking about Venus here. So Venus, polar opposite of Mars, and yeah, let's dive into the chart without further ado. I think that's enough on Venus. So we'll talk about these planets from different perspectives, you know, and that type of thing. Right now, we's good. So here's Venus. I know she looks kind of naked, doesn't she? Well, there's Venus though. And so right here you can see the two polarity aspects. So we're going to talk about the planetary reception polarity aspects, of which there are two. And our first one is going to be right here, the positive and the negative. So we got the ruler and the dignity for Venus, the signs that Venus rules and is in dignity in. And so now, and then we're going to talk about the signs that Venus is in detriment in. So the first two signs that we're going to talk about, because they're ruled by Venus, are everyone's favorite, Taurus and Libra. So Taurus being, you know, naturally associated with the second celestial house, and Libra being associated with the 7th house, right? So 2nd and 7th. So I'm not talking about houses, just kind of sticking to the signs, right? Taurus would be that fixed earth quality, being fixated on your own way of thinking and being practical, but also ruler of the 5 senses, so master of sight, touch, smell, taste, and feel, or whatever they are, right? Yeah, master of the 5 senses. Taurus rules the senses, basically. So very sensuous sign, sensual. I'd say it's the most sensuous and sensual. Is there even do those words mean the same thing, man? I think they do. So very sensual. I can speak from experience because I'm a Taurus, baby, and I have Venus in Taurus too. So this is a good energy for me. Taurus would be the feminine side of Venus. So as far as Venus's rulership goes, Taurus would be the yin, or the feminine polarity, right? The negative charge. But then the positive charge would be the air. So we're talking left brain here. Venus is dealing with the left brain. We're talking earth and air. Earth being the negative, air being the positive. So we got Taurus on the bottom for the negative, right? And we got Libra on the top for the masculine. So Libra represents cardinal air, right? Initiating and creating new ways of how to think and communicate. And Libra is also representative of balance, right? It's the only sign of the zodiac that's not symbolized by a living creature, right? It's the scales, right? So that's what Libra's all about. And Libra is a very, very unique sign, one of a kind. And this is Venus's masculine, where she's able to express herself more in a more masculine way, maybe even he. But really, Venus is really on that feminine side. She's known to be fine, and so she's going to express herself through Libra, through that cardinal air, that balanced perspective. That's what Libra is all about in Venus. So that's kind of where Venus ties into Libra there. As far as Taurus, just ruling the five senses, so being master of the five senses and ruling, basically that means ruling the material world, the 3D world of Earth, right? The 3D realm of Earth. Earth and air being the masters of this realm, but specifically Taurus when it comes to Earth, being representative of the actual Earth herself, of Torah. So that's what Taurus brings to the table, and Venus is able to express herself in a very, very feminine way there, and she's able to build very, very solid structures like the Earth, right? Basically on which to display her love and her value, her appreciation, and her art and all that. She's very artistic. So I think that's probably pretty good for those two signs. We got fixed Venus loves fixed Earth and cardinal air. So it's a left brain planet, ruling. We're dealing with left brain, the logic and the thinking, but we're also dealing with a lot of feelings, sensuous, material sensations, food, indulging. Anything with the material world to do with nature. So any sort of food, anything like that. That's why Tauruses love food. Tauruses love food. Good food. Good food. Not just any food. See, the Venus brings an aspect of quality with her wherever she goes, especially in her rulership signs, or the signs where she is in rulership of Taurus and Libra. So I think that's enough there on the positive side of that polarity aspect that we're talking about. On the negative side of that, the negative side of where Venus rules and is in dignity is where Venus is in detriment. So what's the polar opposite of Venus that we've talked about? It's Mars. So Mars and Venus both are in detriment in each other's ruling signs. So Mars being the ruler of both Aries and Scorpio, that's where Venus is going to naturally be in detriment, where she doesn't work the way she normally does. She can't work normally under those circumstances. She's really where she doesn't want to be, basically. And she has to get things done in ways that she might not be proud of, right? So that's Aries and Scorpio, right? So cardinal fire and fixed water. So we'll talk about Aries real quick. That's the first celestial house, right? Aries, number one. Talking about Aries, the ram. So this is cardinal fire, initiating and creating new ways of how to see and feel. It's the spark of creation, right? It's the exaltation of the sun. It represents, divine creation, basically, to the fullest extent in many ways. So that's Aries right there. So it's very cardinal fire, hot, dry, aggressive climate type of thing. And Venus just doesn't do well there, right? She's very soft and cool and feminine, and she doesn't want to be in Mars's masculine house, right? And pack and punch. She's probably getting in fights and all that, all that type of stuff or whatever. So, so that's about that for Aries. And then Scorpio, being associated with the 8th house. We got, this is fixed water. So this is the feminine side of Mars. And also Pluto's a co-ruler here too. This is the feminine side of Mars. So Venus also hates being here. Venus is trapped in the ice here, basically. Trapped under ice, like that Metallica song, right? I barely even really know the song. But she's just trapped under ice, man. She can't do anything, man. So she's stuck in like an abusive relationship in Scorpio. Many abusive relationships. Like, Aries is more of like she's just like, in a very unnatural environment. Scorpio's more like she's getting bogged down, a lot. It's very heavy. Scorpio's very, very, very heavy. Fixed water. That could be very, very heavy. So I think that covers that as far as that first aspect for Venus, right? So this so Taurus being the feminine side of Venus, Venus rulership, and Libra being the masculine side of Venus rulership, Aries being the masculine side of Venus detriment, and Scorpio being the feminine side of Venus detriment. So that's our first polarity aspect, planetary reception polarity aspect. So now we're going to get to the second one here. We're going to be talking about the exaltation and the fall of Venus. So Venus and Mars are more fun than Mercury and Jupiter as far as picking planets and charges. Venus is messing with Earth, she's messing with air, and she's messing with water. She's not really messing with fire for the most part, but you know, it depends, man. So Venus is diving in there, unlike Mercury, who shares a lot of the same signs, and they're all of different. They're all mutable signs. Venus is dealing with cardinal signs, fixed signs, and mutable signs. So let's get into that right now. Let's get into that. We've already talked about the cardinal and the fixed. Let's talk about the mutable signs that are affecting Venus, such as the exaltation and the fall. That's our next polarity aspect. So we're diving in. Hold on to your seats. So, exaltation of Venus, as you can see right here, is Pisces, right? So Pisces being associated with the 12th house, representing mutable water. So, you know, so this would be being mutable and adaptable to your own and other people's ways of feeling and dealing with the emotion. So we can also get very heavy here, and there's a lot of waves, a lot of water power, a lot of emotion, right? And so Venus, you know, it's a lot of creative imagination and illusion. And to be honest, Venus loves that. She's an avid surfer, and she is riding the waves in Pisces, and she's at the top. You know, the moon is at the top in Taurus, at the top of the highest mountain shining. Venus is at the top of the highest wave, riding the highest wave, man, at the very top, and she's shining bright, man. So I think Venus is like the brightest object in the sky too. When she's out, man, she's out. You can see her. She looks like she's like right there. You can touch her. So, man, I got this funny little like part of my hair hanging down. Woo! One of these days, I'm gonna figure out how to have long hair. It's gonna be cool. So, think that's enough for there. So Pisces. That's where Venus is exalted. So she's in her highest heaven there. She shines the brightest. She's able to love the highest, in the highest form, basically. And she's really able to ride the waves, surf the waves, and do some water bending and all that type of fun stuff. So so what's the sign polar opposite of Pisces? That's going to be Pisces, where the exaltation of Venus is. To find the fall of Venus, take the opposite sign of Pisces. So we're going to Virgo. That's where Venus is going to fall, where she's basically asleep and doesn't really work. Right? So we're kind of talking about detriment placement of a planet, kind of being like the planet playing out in ways it doesn't want to, or it's not naturally going to. But then when the planet falls, it's more like the planet just doesn't work, or it's it could be a lot more weight. It's more heavily exaggerated. But both detriment and fall are not necessarily ideal placements for planets, right? They're going to be uncomfortable in their nature. So let's just say that. But talking about the fall of Venus, we're talking about Virgo, right? So what's Virgo all about? Thinking and analyzing and criticizing, right? And being ruled by Mercury, right? And the exaltation of Mercury. So it's feminine Mercury. So Virgo is mutable earth. So it's like a earth sign disguised as an air sign. It's a very communicative earth sign, whereas the other earth signs are kind of just, about their business. Virgos are in everyone else's business, and it's cool, man, and that's what Virgo represents. Don't take it too literally. But so we're talking about Venus fallen in Virgo. So Venus she's kind of just washed up, man, in Virgo, man. She's kind of just washed up, dried out, and kind of just chilling, man. Kind of just trying to, literally just napping, man. Just kind of sleeping, man. Not really a good environment for Venus, that mutable earth energy. She's not digging it. She loves fixed earth. She's whatever with cardinal earth. Doesn't dig mutable earth. Has too many shapes and forms, and she gets attached to them too easily because she wants to love. But basically, you can't get too attached to any forms, right? That's not getting attached to the 3D realm. Talking about on our process of ascension here. So there's our little Virgo, you can see. So yeah, so that's a little bit about Venus. So those are our two. That completes our two planetary reception polarity aspects. Talking about Venus here. You can see them right behind me still. So Venus is dealing with cardinal, mutable, and fixed signs. So it's interesting. It's a whole bunch of interesting fun when it comes to Venus, man. Venus is great, man. Without Venus, life would be devoid of beauty. So Thank you, Venus. And I think that about wraps up this video, man. So I'm kind of on a roll right now, putting up these videos. I'm going to try to keep putting them out for you guys. Hopefully this is making good sense. But yeah, one more thing I want to talk about real quick as regards to these signs, right? So with the air and the earth and the water, Venus messing with all three of those elements, we're talking about both negative and positive charge aspects, lacking fire. So we're talking about Venus is messing with the water and the earth. Right, she's messing with that as far as Taurus and Pisces goes. She's heavily messing with those negative charged, right, negative ions, negative charged elements. But she's also messing with the positively charged element of air with the Libra, right? So and that type of thing. So it's interesting, man. As far as the places where Venus likes to be, you know. So she's all over the place. She's mixing and mingling a lot. Right now we have Venus in Capricorn next to Saturn and in between Saturn and Pluto. And she's also trining the moon right now, trining Mars, all this stuff, man. It's super cool. So got a lot of interesting energy going on. And hopefully this video was helpful for you. And we're just going to keep adding to the series. So this was Venus. Next we're going to get to Mars, you know. We're going to get through Jupiter, Saturn, and maybe stop there. We'll see, man. So give me your feedback. I'd love to hear your feedback. Thanks for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe. You know, do the whole 9 yards. And you know, if you have any topics you want to go over, any questions or any comments, please leave them. We'd love to hear. And once again, this is Nick here from Fallen Moon or Full Moon Fallen Astro Topics. And thank you again to Soul Family and Soul Group and Star Family and Subconscious Community and anyone else for tuning into this video. And until next time, namaste.